a lot of acquisitions are presented as mergers. So people hear the word merger and they think that they are all mergers, but in fact, most of the deals announced involve a transaction between a buyer and a seller that have agreed terms, and the buyer has a majority stake or total ownership, becomes the total owner, and the shareholders of the buyer take control of the seller company. So most of the so presented mergers are actually acquisitions. A true merger is when two similar entities join forces, and even if they agree that one might retain a slight majority and the other one a minority, or if they divide it in several parts, they actually agree on a framework that gives the parties that are merging the opportunity to create a balance in the executive roles or the responsibilities for the success of the company. And the way to do it is normally according to their strengths. So somebody that has been working on sales, in my opinion, I mean, and it happens generally this way, continues to have some role in sales and marketing of some kind. And they might even decide, these parties that merge, that they're going to hire an external CEO, or that they appoint somebody in the organization as a CEO, but not necessarily one of the co-founders. I mean, it's somebody that is best placed to fulfill that role. So it's really like a strength-based kind of decision-making. Now, I can understand why, whenever there is this, one of the big mergers announced, there is a kind of a fascination with these kind of epic stories of how large LSPs are joining and how these mergers play out. I mean, I've been through that myself. I mean, in the history of, the big mergers, Berlitz, Baum, Lionbridge, and so on. And I can understand why when people read about all these factors at play, when people, read about the ins and outs and people stepping down and other people leaving and other people entering, it's not necessarily a roses garden, let's call it for what it is, right? So, I mean, there are vested shareholders' interests. I mean, normally there are changes of guard agreed, early retirements agreed, this CFO is leaving, this CFO is entering. So I can understand why many people are reading this like sort of like an epic story, and then they say, yeah, but this is not for me, right?
Yeah.
But the reality of smaller companies is that, and when I'm talking about the smaller companies, I'm talking about the lower end of the spectrum of the language services industry. Organic growth is very hard for anybody. I mean, for the big companies and the small companies, but of course, bigger companies have it easier. It's easier to pull it off because they are bigger and they have a lot to leverage from. So they continuously invest in sales, marketing, technology. They can diversify, they can increase market share, and it's easier, to achieve that level of growth organically, even if it takes, a lot of effort. It doesn't happen by itself. But for smaller companies, to be able to say, right, I'm at 1.5 mil and I want to double in size in the next few years. If you are counting on organic growth, that's titanic effort to double in size. To go from 1.5 million to 3, it's titanic effort. If you join forces with a company that you like, or that is actually similar or complementary, you can actually double with immediate effect. And then you can work together to create the leverage and create that double-digit growth that it's going to allow you to perhaps achieve, a faster exit strategy.